Every year across misty valleys from China to New Zealand, millions of deer are led into narrow pens. Not to die, but to be harvested alive. What they yield is not meat nor hide, but velvet antler, called the soft gold of Eastern medicine. For more than 1,000 years, it has been believed to restore youth, strengthen bones, and ignite male vitality. In 2024, China alone imported over 300 tons of velvet antler, valued at more than $1.2 billion. Capsules, wines, tonics, all promising natural power. But what exactly is this substance? A miracle of nature or a myth sustained by commerce? Behind the serene images of gentle deer and herbal rituals lies a question few dare to ask. When an industry sells healing but thrives on silent suffering, can it still claim to be pure? This is the untold story of velvet gold, where medicine, money, and morality collide. In the quiet farmlands of northeastern China, dawn breaks over long rows of wooden fences. Inside, herds of spotted deer move slowly, their breath steaming in the cold air. Farmers begin their daily ritual. They roll heavy bales of straw across the mud and slice open sacks of dried herbs, ginseng leaves, corn husks, and mountain roots. The smell of earth and medicine fills the pens. Each deer is tagged and weighed. Their diets are carefully logged to ensure balanced fiber and nutrient intake. On paper, it looks like an agricultural miracle, a union of tradition and science. But the true harvest comes in early summer. By then, the antlers have grown thick and soft, covered in velvet skin coursing with warm blood. They contain a rare mix of growth hormones and minerals. When the time comes, farmers gently guide mature stags into narrow holding pens. The walls are smooth, designed to keep them calm. A veterinarian injects a local anesthetic. The saw hums quietly, and within moments the antlers fall, still warm, still pulsing faintly. The wounds are treated with antiseptic powder. Within minutes, the animal stands again, slightly unsteady but alive. The antlers are washed frozen and stored for drying. Each stag can produce 2 to 3 kilograms of velvet per year, worth nearly $3,000. On a large farm, that means millions in revenue. One farmer explains with pride, "We don't harm them. We just take what grows back." Yet animal welfare experts disagree. They claim that antlers contain nerve endings and that even under anesthesia, pain is inevitable. To the farmers, this is livelihood. To activists, it's cruelty wrapped in ritual. If the process is truly harmless, why do animal rights groups call it silent cruelty? And if the truth is clean, why is the footage of harvesting so hard to find? In a moment, we'll explore what scientists have really found inside velvet antler and why it's sparking a billion-dollar controversy. Don't miss it, subscribe so you won't lose the truth behind the gold. To understand how velvet antler became a global obsession, we must travel back more than 1,000 years. In the royal courts of ancient China, it was reserved for emperors and generals, a tonic of vitality said to restore the power of youth. It was called Lu Rong, the deer's gift, to man, the secret of longevity. That myth never died. It simply evolved from an imperial medicine to a commercial empire. Today, the velvet antler industry spans continents. China, Korea, Russia, and New Zealand dominate production. In 2023, analysts valued the market at $2.6 billion, growing nearly 7% every year. But what exactly do scientists find inside this soft gold? Velvet antler is made of cartilage and blood vessels filled with compounds like collagen, chondroitin sulfate, and IGF-1, a growth factor that stimulates cell repair. Traditional healers believe it rebuilds the body's natural balance. A Chinese herbalist explains velvet antler strengthens the spirit and blood. It brings harmony to the body. Western medicine, however, sees a more complicated picture. Clinical trials in Canada and the United States show little measurable improvement in strength, stamina, or immune function. The concentration of active hormones in most capsules is too low to have real biological impact. Still, demand continues to rise. Why? Because velvet antler is more than a product, it's a belief. For millions, it represents continuity with the past, a tangible connection to ancient wisdom. And yet behind this cultural faith lies a new layer of power corporate ambition. Pharmaceutical and biotech companies have quietly entered the velvet trade. They're not selling tradition. They're extracting compounds. A Korean research firm recently patented a method to isolate IGF-1 peptides from velvet, not for herbal tonics but for anti-aging cosmetics. A U.S. investor told reporters anonymously, "We're not interested in folklore. We're interested in molecules. If we can extract IGF-1 naturally, we can sell it as bioactive youth serum. That's real gold." So the story deepens. What began as a royal ritual has become a modern biotechnology frontier. And it raises another question. If modern science doubts its healing power, why are billion-dollar corporations suddenly investing in it again? Public opinion on velvet antler is a mirror of cultural division. In Asia, it is celebrated as a gift of nature. In the West, often condemned as cruelty dressed in tradition. In China, the government promotes velvet antler as part of a multi-billion-dollar wellness economy. Television ads feature silver-haired men drinking antler wine, smiling, as captions promise restored vitality. Energy for life, one commercial says straight from the deer's strength. Velvet is listed as a national resource with export incentives and tax breaks for large farms. In South Korea, velvet antler is both a medicine and a symbol of masculinity. Pharmacies proudly display bottles of extract beside ginseng and red deer photos. Elderly customers see it as an alternative to synthetic supplements. "My father took it, so I do," says one man in Seoul. New Zealand, meanwhile, markets itself as the ethical frontier of velvet farming. Their glossy brochures highlight clean pastures, strict veterinary oversight, and phrases like humane antler removal. Export data shows New Zealand supplies more than 40% of Korea's imports. For them, deer farming is not tradition, but technology, precision breeding, temperature-controlled barns, and export-grade processing. Yet the moral debate grows louder abroad. In Europe and North America, animal rights activists rally against what they call ritualized suffering. Groups like PETA and the Humane Society publish reports showing deer restrained in steel frames during cutting. Their message spreads fast online, often accompanied by grainy emotional footage. A protester in Berlin holds a sign, "Pain is not medicine." The words are simple, but they strike deep. Meanwhile, a very different voice speaks from behind closed doors, the consumer's voice. In high-end wellness stores in London, Paris, and Los Angeles, velvet antler powders sell for hundreds of dollars a jar. Few buyers know where they come from. For them, the label natural is enough reassurance. Margaret, a retired doctor from London, remembers her first purchase. It was marketed as vitality powder, she says softly. "I felt a bit stronger after a few weeks. Maybe it was placebo, maybe not. But when I discovered how it's made, I couldn't take it again. I wanted to believe in the healing, not the harm." Scientists add another layer to the confusion. The World Health Organization has never recognized velvet antler as an approved medicine. Its compounds are classified as unverified natural products. Yet wellness companies still use scientific imagery, DNA helixes, medical charts to make their ads look legitimate. For the West, velvet gold is a moral dilemma. For the East, it's cultural pride. Between them lies a vast gray zone of silence where profit thrives. Each side accuses the other of hypocrisy. Eastern producers say Western critics ignore factory farming and animal testing. Western activists respond, compassion is not selective. In the end, the debate reveals something deeper than medicine. It exposes how differently we define healing and how easily faith can be marketed. So the question lingers, if the world's leading health organization stays silent, who truly decides what counts as medicine? In the spring of 2024, an anonymous file surfaced online, a 30-page document marked Internal Use Only. It belonged to a major health supplement company based in Seoul, one that supplied velvet extract to luxury wellness brands across Europe. The file detailed supply routes that bypassed veterinary audits. Farms in northern China, it said, could deliver high-yield velvet at half the official cost. The notes included payment records, shipping codes, and a chilling phrase written in bold, "No anesthesia required. Faster cycle." Within days, animal rights groups published the document. But it disappeared almost as quickly as it appeared. The company denied any connection, calling it a malicious fabrication. No government ever opened an inquiry. Soon after, a short video began circulating on encrypted channels. The footage showed handlers in heavy gloves restraining a deer against an iron frame. Its eyes were wide and trembling. A saw whirred. The animal's body jolted once-twice, and then went still. The sound of the saw faded into quiet breathing. Someone whispered, "Quick before it clots." No one claimed responsibility for filming it. No journalist could verify where or when it happened. But experts confirmed one thing: the deer in that video had not been sedated. For a brief moment, outrage flooded the internet. Wellness influencers deleted their velvet-promoting posts. News anchors called it the darker side of ancient medicine. Yet within weeks, the story vanished beneath the tide of new distractions. The company's stock price never dropped. The industry went on as if nothing happened. And here lies the paradox: in an era obsessed with transparency, how does an entire supply chain remain invisible? Who controls what the world sees and what it forgets? The soft gold shines again on store shelves, packaged as purity, sold as healing. But if the industry can erase evidence overnight, what else can it erase? Is the true secret of velvet gold its power to heal or its power to hide? Stay with me, because the answer doesn't live in the forests or the farms anymore. It lives in the laboratories, where tradition is dissected molecule by molecule, and where the line between medicine and myth begins to blur. The leaked file and the disturbing footage forced a few questions into the open. Who supplies the velvet? Who processes it? And who profits when the world forgets? Inside a sterile laboratory in Seoul, rows of glass tubes shimmer under cold light. This is where velvet gold is reborn, no longer animal parts, but chemical codes. Researchers in white coats run centrifuges, extracting a pale powder known as deer collagen peptide. It's odorless, tasteless, and infinitely marketable. From here, the trail grows complex. Export manifests reveal that frozen antlers from Chinese farms are shipped to processing centers in South Korea and New Zealand, where they're dried, ground, and purified. The refined powder is then sent to Germany for encapsulation. By the time it reaches shelves in Paris or Los Angeles, the label says biocollagen or natural vitality formula. The word deer appears nowhere. A logistics manager speaking anonymously explains, "We follow trade law, but not every step is public. If consumers saw the original source, some might hesitate. That's why the system prefers silence." Investigators estimate that over 60% of the global velvet supply chain passes through intermediaries without certified welfare oversight. The illusion of transparency is built on fragmented accountability, each company handling only one clean stage, never seeing the full picture. For regulators, it's nearly impossible to assign blame. For corporations, it's perfect insulation. And so the promise of purity survives. At a wellness expo in Geneva, a European distributor introduces his new product line, Velveta Youth from Nature. He smiles for the camera. "All natural, ethically sourced, scientifically proven," he says. When asked for documentation, he offers a brochure instead. Meanwhile, a Korean pharmacologist reviewing the same products shakes his head. "There is no verified clinical evidence," he says quietly. "IGF-1 in these powders is unstable. It breaks down in the stomach. What people buy is not the molecule, it's the dream." Still, demand soars. Velvet capsules, serums, and drinks generate billions each year, driven by the fear of aging and the faith in ancient science. When critics question the evidence, the industry fights back. A trade representative claims these products are safe, natural, and part of cultural heritage. Western critics just don't understand our traditions. The counter-argument sounds reasonable until one looks at the data. Laboratory analyses from independent institutes in Canada and France reveal that many velvet extracts contain less than 1% active peptide content. Some show contamination by heavy metals from drying equipment, others mislabeled origins. In response, manufacturers issue their own defense. Tests vary, they say. No system is perfect. But perfection isn't the point. Honesty is. When science questions the results and ethics question the methods, what remains of the medicine's soul? Some argue that Western science is too rigid to measure holistic healing. Not everything that works can be quantified, says one traditional healer. But others insist that belief without evidence is faith, not medicine. In that tension, velvet gold finds its survival. It thrives not because it's proven, but because it's poetic. The deeper truth is that both sides feed the same desire, the longing to stay young. The market sells hope, and hope needs no peer review. As one marketing executive admitted off record, our best-selling product isn't deer velvet, it's confidence in a bottle. And yet not everyone is comfortable with that truth. A new generation of scientists in Korea, Japan, and New Zealand are working on what they call ethical antler biotechnology lab-grown substitutes for the compounds once harvested from living deer. Their vision is radical, a world where traditional medicine can evolve without blood. But will consumers accept such a change? Will they believe in a cure that doesn't come from nature's pain? That question opens the next chapter where healing might finally mean no harm. In the southern island of New Zealand, where grasslands stretch into misty hills, a young farmer named Daniel begins his day before sunrise. He once supplied thousands of kilograms of velvet antler each season to buyers in Asia. His farm was clean, his paperwork perfect. But something inside him changed the day he saw a stag panic during harvest. It wasn't the sound he recalls softly. It was the eyes. They understood. That moment planted a question Daniel couldn't ignore. Could there be another way? 2 years later, he left the trade and partnered with a small biotech lab in Christchurch, experimenting with stem cell culture. Their project sounds like science fiction, to grow velvet antler in a dish without a single cut on a living animal. The process starts with collecting a harmless cell sample from a deer's naturally shed antler tip. In nutrient-rich medium, these cells regenerate cartilage structures identical to those found in velvet. Scientists then extract peptides, the same IGF-1 and collagen molecules, and dry them into fine powder. No farms, no saws, no blood. Daniel watches the work with quiet awe. If we can grow meat in labs, we can grow medicine too, he says. Tradition doesn't have to mean pain. Early tests show promise. Lab-grown velvet peptides match the biological composition of natural samples with stable purity and zero contamination. More importantly, they're reproducible, no animal welfare debate required. Investors from Japan and Switzerland are taking notice. The global wellness market, hungry for cruelty-free solutions, is shifting. A new term has begun circulating in trade conferences: no-kill biotechnology, the marriage of ethics and innovation. But the transition isn't easy. Traditional producers fear losing identity. For centuries, velvet antler wasn't just medicine, it was a symbol of heritage, masculinity, and power. Replacing it with lab-grown tissue feels to some like erasing culture itself. A Korean herbalist expresses this anxiety. If we remove the deer, do we remove the spirit? People don't buy velvet only for health. They buy belief. That belief is precisely what Daniel hopes to protect in a different form. He dreams of a future where modern labs and ancient wisdom coexist. We can still honor the deer, he says. We just don't have to hurt it to do so. Already his lab has begun exporting small batches of synthetic velvet extract to European research centers for clinical trials. Early data suggests measurable improvements in cell recovery rates, not miracles, but meaningful results. And so quietly, the story of velvet gold begins to evolve. For traditional medicine, it offers a way to survive, transforming from ritual to science without losing its essence. For regional economies, it promises new industries, ethical innovation, instead of controversy. And for the global audience, it invites reflection. Progress isn't abandoning heritage, it's improving it. Daniel leans against a fence at dusk, watching wild deer graze beyond the lab's perimeter. They don't belong to anyone, he murmurs. Maybe that's the point. His words echo the theme that threads through centuries of belief that true healing cannot come from domination but from respect. Science has finally given tradition a second chance. But with every new solution comes a question: will humanity accept healing that no longer feels